They're very, very applicable to the day in which we're living. While men slept. I believe that's what the Church of Jesus Christ is doing today, sleeping. Ephesians 5 says to the people of that day, "Awake thou that sleepest, and arise from the dead." Well, sleep isn't death, but it's the same. All our powers are suspended. A man is unconscious. He's out of touch with the world around about him. While men slept. What happened while men slept? Well, it tells us that while men slept, the enemy got in and sowed the seed. What happened? While they were sleeping, the enemy was doing his damnable work. The enemy is sowing his seed. You hear the news tonight? Now we say, why have we got all the problems in school? Because we threw 10 lamps out of every school, the 10 commandments. There's no mystery about it. Boy, I'm no genius, but I know when they put the lights out, it's dark in the room. I know when you take the Bible out, it's dark. And we've done this in our homes, alas. Very few homes where the Word of God is honored and read and explained. Sowing the seed of discord. Sowing the seed of error. There has to be a revival, I'm absolutely sure.
Humanity as we know it is at a crossroads today. God is going to give a clear line of demarcation on what is and what isn't. And I believe what I'm going to say about prayer this morning is the key to everything. Here in the 6th chapter of the book of Isaiah, beginning with verse 1, I've used this text a lot of times. In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw also the Lord sitting upon a throne high and lifted up, and his train filled the temple. Above it stood seraphims. Each one had 6 wings, and with twain he covered his face, and with twain he covered his feet, and with twain he did fly. And one cried unto another and said, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory. And the posts of the door moved at the voice of him that cried, and the house was filled with smoke. Then said I, Woe is me, for I am undone, because I'm a man of unclean lips, and I dwell in the midst of a people of unclean lips. For mine eyes have seen the King, the Lord of hosts. Then flew one of the seraphims unto me, having a live coal in his hand, which he had taken with tongs from off the altar. And he laid it upon my mouth and said, Lo, this has touched thy lips. Thine iniquity is taken away, and thy sin purged. Also I heard the voice of the Lord saying, Whom shall I send? And who will go for us? Then said I, Here am I, send me. Now the last part of that verse is the end results of a man that touched God. Isaiah, one of the great prophets of the Bible. The book he wrote contains 66 chapters, and if you have no other part of the Bible, you could find Christ in the book of Isaiah. In the Old Testament story, God gave him the revelation of Christ, of Calvary. And for this, the man of God was sawn asunder. He was murdered for the revelation that God gave him. Isaiah, here in the 6th chapter, has been passing through a crisis. Uzziah is his uncle, was a king of Israel. And in Israel, the politics centered in the king. His is a final word, life and death, all of it. Isaiah is perhaps his favorite nephew with great possibilities in that kingdom, politically. No doubt had a great future under Uzziah. But the problem with it all is a call of God on his life. He feels feels a tug of God. And he's having a hard time making up his mind. Finally, he says, "Here am I, Lord, send me." But the problem with him is giving up the seen for the unseen. That's a problem with the entire church. We live so distant from God that it's hard for us to give up what we see on this planet for the next one. The mark of a true believer is that man or woman that's willing to sacrifice the present for the future. But nobody does that until they see God. The Bible said Moses endured in that wilderness as seeing him that's invisible. Moses knew God. Therefore, the problems of that desert wasn't to him what it was to the rest of Israel. Here the Bible talks to this young man. He no doubt sees himself one day in a place of authority in that kingdom of Israel, but yet God is calling him into the ministry. Here in the 6th chapter of the book of Isaiah, Uzziah dies. And the Bible said in that year Isaiah saw God. In the year that Uzziah died, he pressed his way in to know God for himself. A great part of the church is living on what somebody else told them. Their whole spiritual life is simply the story that they've heard. They themselves have never had a personal encounter with God, so that their knowledge of God is the same as seeing God. When the Bible talks about seeing, for the most part it's talking about knowing. The prophet or the apostle Paul wrote and said that the eyes of your understanding be enlightened, that you may know. That your eyes of understanding be enlightened, that you may know. And it said